In this video, you're going to be learning how to make this beautiful wrap dress. It's really beginners friendly, so if this is something you're interested in, then let's dive in. I'm going to be starting with my back pattern first. So this line I drew right here is going to be my shoulder line. Then from my shoulder line, I'll come down by 8.5 inches, which is my armhole line. This measurement is basically my round armhole divided by 2. So mine is 17 divided by 2. You should measure yours and divide it by 2, and that's how I got my armhole line. Now from the shoulder, I'll be marking my waistline measurement, which is 17 inches, and I'll be connecting it with the straight line. Half of my shoulder measurement is 7.25, and I added half inch for seam allowance. Now I marked the same thing on my armhole line and I connected both points with a straight line. Now on this new line, I'll be coming down by 0.75 inch, which is for my shoulder slope. For my neck width, I marked 3 inches, and I'm going to be connecting the 3 inches to my shoulder slope. Now for the back neck depth, I'm marking 1 inch, and then I'll be connecting to the neck width with a curved ruler. Now measure what I have on this line and mark the center point. Quarter of my bust measurement is 9.5. I marked it and then I added 1 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to be connecting from that midpoint to quarter of my bust measurements on my armhole line. Quarter of my waist measurement is 8.5. I marked it on my waistline and I added 1 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to be connecting from my armhole line to my waistline, both the exact measurement and my seam allowance. I'll also be adding my shoulder seam allowance at the shoulder, which is 0.5 inch. Then on the waistline, I'll be marking my seam allowance as well, which is half inch for joining. So we're done with drafting the back pattern. Remember, this is the back pattern, and this pattern is going to be cut on fold. And now we're going to be cutting our pattern. So if this is your first time watching my channel or watching any of my videos, you're welcome to my channel. It's Designs by Simi. And if you've gotten any value from this video so far and you've been enjoying it, don't hesitate to like this video. Also, if you have any questions or anything you do not understand, please drop me a comment in the comment section and I will definitely respond to you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because this is the part 1 of this video and I'm going to be uploading the part 2 very soon. So let's get back to drafting. So I have the pattern paper from my front pattern on fold. This is because we're making a wrap dress, so we need the front pattern to be on fold. So of course I'm going to be starting with my shoulder line, which is also going to be my starting line. I'm going to be indicating it right there. Then just like we did for the back, I'll be marking my armhole line, which is 8.5 inches, and after making my point, I'll be connecting all of the points to make a straight line, and that is armhole AH. Then I'm going to be marking my shoulder to waist measurement, which is 17 inches from the shoulder, and I'll be marking it into a straight line. Half of my shoulder measurement is 7.25 inches. I'll be marking that and I'll be adding my half inch seam allowance, which makes it a total of 7.75. Now I mark the same thing on my armhole line and I'll come down by 0.75 inches. My neck width is 3 inches. I connected it to my shoulder slope. Now on that line connecting the shoulder to the armhole, just like we did for the back, but in this case we're going to be coming out by 0.5 inch on that midpoint, and we're going to be connecting it from the shoulder to that 0.5 inch we came out by to quarter of my bust measurement. So I already marked out quarter of my bust measurement on my armhole line. Now for this neck depth, we're going to be coming down by 7 inches, and then I connected it with my straight ruler to my neck width. But we're not done with this neckline. You'll see as we progress in the video. Now moving on to our waist, quarter of our waist plus 1 inch seam allowance. Then we'll connect from the armhole to the waistline, as simple as ABC. Now I'm going to be adding my seam allowances just like I did for the back. So after cutting my pattern, I'm going to be opening it up just like this. Remember, we drafted the pattern on fold, and I'm going to be extending my line. So I extended the armhole line to the other side. I also marked my center front line so we don't get confused. Then I don't need to extend my shoulder line because I'll be cutting off that pattern with. I also extended my waistline. So now we're going to be extending the neckline over to the other half of this pattern. So from the center front, you can decide to mark 4-inch extension, 5-inch extension, 6 inches extension, depending on the look you're going for. So I made use of 6 inches extension from the center front line. Now at that 6 inches point, I came up by 1.5 inch, which is going to be for my belt. So if your belt is going to be 2 inches, you come up by 2 inches. If it's going to be 1 inch, you come up by 1 inch. So I made a straight line at that point, which is 1.5. Now from my neckline, I'm going to be connecting to where my belt is going to start from. So you can decide to make use of your straight ruler, but the straight ruler wasn't giving me what I wanted. So I used my slightly curved ruler to connect from my 7 inches neckline to where my belt will start. Now it's time to cut my front pattern. So if you notice, I indicated ×2 on my front pattern. That means I'm going to be cutting 2 of it, one for the left side and one for the right side, so they will overlap each other at the center front. But for this particular project, I'm going to be cutting 4 pieces because I want to use the same fabric as lining. So I'm going to be cutting 4 of it. Also, make sure you pin your pattern pieces on your fabric before you cut. So yeah, I just placed my fabric on fold and then I placed my pattern on it and I am cutting, and that's 2. I'm going to be doing it again for the front and I'm going to be cutting it, so to make a total of 4. Also, remember that center front line that we drew? Don't forget to notch it on your fabric. It's very important. Now I'm going to be placing my fabric on fold again in order to cut the back. So now your back has to be on fold. I already indicated that on my back pattern. So I'm pinning my pattern on my fabric that I already placed on fold and I'll be cutting it out. So for the back, we only need 1 piece. Here are my front pieces. I cut out 4 just like I mentioned earlier. I also cut out my belt pieces. The belt can be as long as you want it, but remember we are using 1.5 inch for our belt. So on fold, that's 3 inches plus half of an inch of seam allowance on both sides. So I cut a total of 4 inches. I cut out 2 of this as well, and the length of the belt totally depends on how you like it. Now this is my back piece. I cut just 1 like I said. Now I went ahead to cut a bias strip from the same fabric, which is about 1.25 inches, and this is what I'm going to be using to finish my neckline. So I'm going to be placing the bias strip right sides facing each other on my back neckline, and I'm going to be stitching down first with 0.25 inch. After stitching it down, I'm going to flip it over to the wrong side, and I'm going to be folding the bias strip twice just to conceal, you know, all of the rough seam. And after folding it twice, I'm going to be stitching down on it as well. And after doing that, this is what I have. Personally, I love the kind of finished look I get when I use the same fabric as the material I'm working on for my bias strip. So, but you can use store-bought bias strip, it all depends on you. Now I'm going to be placing my two belt strips like this. I'll be folding it over, and I'll be cutting from one end to the folded end, just like this, just like you see in the video. This is just to give it that belt like shape on one end. Now I picked up two pieces of my front, just one pair. We're going to be working with one pair first. Make sure the two you pick up are facing each other, they are opposites, and I'm going to be stitching from the neckline all the way down. Now I went ahead to fix my belt, and I turned it out and I gave it a good press. This is what it looks like. I'm going to be inserting my belt in between the two pieces, and I'm going to be stitching on it just like this. So I'll be stitching from the neckline all the way down. I'm going to be doing the same thing to the other pair as well. I'm going to be stitching from the neckline all the way down, not forgetting to insert my second belt piece in between. After I was done stitching one side, this is what it looks like. Now I am going to be opening it up like this, and I'm going to be picking one of the pieces to be my lining. You can actually pick any of the pieces to be your lining piece at this point. And now I'm going to be under stitching on the lining piece just so that my seam stays flat. After doing my understitch, this is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. So now our seam looks very flat. I'll go ahead and give this a very good press. Now this first piece is going to be either your left or your right part. Now you need to make sure that the second piece you're going to be stitching on is the exact opposite of the very first one you stitch. You don't want to get two left or two right pieces. You don't want that. So you need to check and recheck. I did the same thing for the other side, and I made sure that they are opposites. So now I have one left part and one right part. So this is what we have right now. Now I'm going to be bringing in my back piece, and I'm going to be placing them over each other, right sides facing, of course, because now it's time to stitch both at the shoulder seam. So I'm just going to be pinning my shoulders together, front and back, and I'm going to be stitching with 0.5 inch seam allowance. I'm also going to be joining them at the sides, but on one side of the seam I'll make sure I leave an opening of 1.5 inch for my belt. So now I've gone ahead to join my shoulder seam. I'm going to overlock it later, and I also went ahead to join my side. Like I said, I left an opening of 1.5 inch just slightly above my waist line. So from the waistline I stitched down 0.5 inch, and then I left a gap of 1.5 inches. Then I continue stitching all the way up. So this opening, like I said, is going to be for my belt. But on the other side, of course, I stitched all the way down. Thank you so much for watching. In my next tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I made the lower part of this dress.